What was it? 1, 2, choo choo?
No, one chew, one chew.
One chew, one chew.
Isn't that what the sound text do?
Well, it is now. Cool. Well, hello, everyone. We've got a bit of a change now. We've got someone new. He goes by the name of Geoffrey Hughes. And you've got quite an illustrious background in a diverse range of businesses. But how are you going today anyways?
Very good. It's been a bit chilly today, but
Tell me about it.
but hopefully everybody's sitting at home with the heater on, so they'll be right.
True. Well, good thing this isn't live, so that by the time they hear it, it might actually be warm. So they'll probably miss the cold.
Absolutely.
Dare to dream. But anyways, just to give a bit of context about your background and sort of how you came to work in the industry that you did. I know a bit about your background in terms of running an entertainment business, but yeah, I'm sure the listeners would love to hear it.
Right, yeah. Been in the entertainment industry most of my life, generally self-employed, but work started to become a bit hard to come by, so rather than sit back and say, okay, work's hard to come by, isn't life tough? I thought, well, nothing owes you a living, so started a company and created my own work. And that worked well. We went from a startup to a national touring company within about 6 years. And on our 10th anniversary, got a letter of congratulations from the Prime Minister and the Arts Minister, which was nice.
I saw that on the website. I was going to ask you about that actually. How do you get that, or what's the criteria, or were they just sending out letters to everyone, or what happened?
Oh, of course not. Only the best. No, we were doing a big 10th anniversary concert, and of course we invited the Prime Minister to speak, who turned us down.
Oh, okay.
So we asked the Arts Minister to speak, who turned us down. But they both sent us letters, which was nice. And because I gave them the opportunity to send letters and they would be read out at the concert.
Oh, wow.
So no politician's going to miss out on a chance to have their name spoken.
True. Oh, yeah. Auntie Jacinda, consider this an invite. The letter you'll send it to is 198 Federal Street. But no, sorry, carry on. Tell us more about this.
Well, if this is a podcast, you might not be Prime Minister then, so now you've put your foot in it.
Well, that's, true.
Yeah.
Not live. But yeah, tell us about that entertainment. See, work wasn't it was a bit hard to come by, so instead of feeling sorry for yourself, you went out and started something.
That's right. Basically, we looked around for a niche that wasn't being exploited and found a niche in the daytime concert series area. A lot of the retired population wanting to go out, but all the concerts in the evening, and when they don't want to drive, hard to park, cold. So we started doing concerts during the day at theatres, and people would bus in, and it worked very well. So just an example of finding a niche, being first in the niche, and pushing that niche.
I heard of my flatmate was talking about raves at 7 a.m, and I was thinking, what? Like, do you not go to sleep, or who wakes up for a rave at that time? And it was a silent disco,
right?
So you could party, but no one would know.
Okay.
But daytime concerts. So, what sort of demographics would come? Was it the people older, 65, and they were going crazy, and
basically
what was happening?
Basically, anybody retired. 55 up, generally.
Wow. Did you have to cater differently than what you used to in the other events, or is it the same sort of
style of music and the date of the music?
Okay.
We had to. I mean, they're not going to. Well, your target market does age, but we certainly wouldn't have been doing Thin Lizzy or Led Zepp music. But possibly in the next few years, as the demographic moves and the audience moves with it, we would have had to have been doing Led Zepp and Thin Lizzy, but no, generally targeting the music to suit the audience.
Smart. I was going to say the mosh pit of retirees would look quite fascinating with the walkers and Rayven, but so, okay, you found the niche. Instead of feeling sorry for yourself, you made something happen. So you're doing these day concerts for quite a while. Is there another industry you followed after that before you came into where you are now, or?
No, at the did that from startup. I sold out of it after 12 years, thinking I had one more business left in me. So sold out of that. Went on for new experiences. My wife's an accountant, and so I said, okay, let's start an accounting firm.
Wow.
And that was it.
Were you nervous? Because obviously it's not necessarily, you've got background in business and strategy, but was that quite a daunting task to go into a different field like that, or exciting, or how'd you frame it in your mind?
Not at all. Business is business. There's only one rule to business: sell for more than you buy for. That's it. That's business. Richard Branson was interviewed, and they said, how do you find it? You know, you own a gym, you own an airline, you own a bank. Do you find that hard? And he said, no, the principles are the same.
Yeah, right.
No matter what the business is, you've got to find your market, and you've got to sell it to your market. That's it.
Good point. I mean, we've had a coffee before, and I've met you at a few networking events, and you always add value. And there was actually, in terms of principles or core things you should understand in accounting and business in general, you called it the Holy Trinity. I asked my dad, he's an accountant. He knew the answers, but he'd never heard of Holy Trinity. So it's quite an interesting thing to discuss. So what's the Holy Trinity of accounting and business?
I call it the Holy Trinity because it's the three things that every business needs to think about. Most people start a business because they have an idea or they'll think it'll go well. But the Holy Trinity is the business plan, the cash flow forecast, and the management accounts. And if you operate those three all as one sort of cohesive practice, then you'll find it'll work well. The business plan tells you where you want your business to go, when you want to get there, and how you're going to get there. It's basically a roadmap for your business. Okay, I'm starting this business. I want to be in it for, let's say, 15 years, and at the end of that, I want to sell it for a lot of money. That's giving you your destination.
Okay.
And then in your business plan, you look, how am I going to get there? How am I going to get to that destination? You do the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, all of that. You go through, you have a look at your marketing, who's your target market, who's your avatar client. Is it women between 45 and 55, or is it teenagers, or is it men between 15 to 25? Because you have to find your marketing avatar. Who is your main client? And then you have to be where that client hangs out, either physically or digitally. So if your client is, let's say, a lady who's into arts and crafts, then you need to have some advertising material at arts and crafts events. Arts and crafts websites, you've got to have a banner, pay for a banner, maybe approach arts and crafts organisations and try and purchase their mailing list, or if they'll allow you to send something out to their mailing list. This is all defined in your business plan.
Yeah.
So your business plan is, I want to be here by this date, and here is how I'm going to do it.
Oh, okay.
And who are my competitors? What are they doing wrong? What are they doing right? What's my point of difference for those competitors going to be? All of this is contained in your business plan, which is a roadmap from where you are now to where you want to be when you want to exit that business. Okay,
makes a lot of sense. And it's quite a common thing, at least I see at these networking events and different business owners, is that they sort of start and then try to work it out. And their exit strategy, they often leave it too late. So I like that you're actually creating a destination before you even start, in a sense, when you create a business plan.
Yeah, part of your business planning at the beginning is your exit strategy. You don't have to put things in place for that, but you need to know when it's going to happen, when you want it to happen. Things may change and you might want to get out of there sooner. Or come that time, you think, okay, well, I'll just sit back and actually let the business keep running, and I'll pull back and just be a consultant to the business and keep the income coming in.
Okay.
But it needs to be part of the decision-making process.
For sure. So it's sort of like a pie in the sky in a sense. You've got this goal that you're working towards, but it can change and adjust to the times. And one of the skill sets I see from talking to you often is one obviously in the business strategy side of things, but I also think you're very good at the networking aspect and marketing side of running a business, and I think that was the transferable side of things for you.
Right. Yep.
So just starting with that avatar, if someone was to sit down with you to create a business plan and they want to work out what their avatar is and then how to target them, do you have a process that you go through with them? Is it a combination of who they relate to, also who has the need, also who's not being serviced in the right way? Or how do you go about finding an avatar for your business?
It depends. Firstly, the question is what product or service are you providing? And you decide, okay, this is what I'm providing. The next question you need to ask yourself is, for this product or service, what problem am I solving? Because people don't care what you do. People don't care that here's a list of my services, here's what I do, here's my team. They say, oh, that's great for you, have a nice life. You haven't got buy-in until you solve a problem that they have. So you've got your business idea, you've got your product or service. You think, okay, what problem does this product or service solve? Okay, it solves this. Okay, then who has this problem? Whoever has that problem is your avatar, is who you're selling to. For example, as it stands at the moment, if I'm selling, as you brought up so nicely, walkers for the old people.
Yeah, okay, walkers.
Now,
Yeah.
I sell walkers. I wouldn't try and sell you a walker. You don't want one.
No.
You might end up with one, but you don't want one at the moment.
Yeah.
So you don't have that problem. So because you don't have that problem, I can't solve that problem for you. So therefore, you will never be my client for walkers at the moment.
For sure.
Therefore, I shouldn't market to you. Whereas if I've got contacts in rest homes, okay, there's my target market, place full of my marketing avatars. I should be approaching or dealing with the rest homes because I'm solving a problem that their residents have.
For sure.
So the question to sit back and ask yourself is, what problem am I solving and who has that problem? Now I should start marketing to them.
Makes sense. Greg uses the analogy in his old firm, New Zealand Financial Planning. They had a competition, I think it was the Millennial $10 note. There was a unique $10 note that was brought out, and their job was to try and collect as many of those as possible. So the $10 note's your avatar, where you're going to find a high majority of them. So a lot of the other directors or partners, they went out there and just tried to talk to people and put their name in cafes and stuff. Greg went to the banks and to the service stations and just built rapport with them. So instead of actually having to go out there and consistently hunt, he built rapport with people that come across the $10 notes a lot. And that's a big part from what I can see from a marketing standpoint. And also in selling, they talk about, in Wolf of Wall Street, I think you should be able to learn from the good and bad people in the world. And they talk about selling this pen, sell me this pen. And the whole premise is you can't sell something to someone that doesn't need it. So a lot of sales, when they spend this time talking to someone, they haven't qualified them. They're wasting that person's time and theirs. And I think you balance that quite well between service and respecting each other's time. Is it is it quite a tricky thing for you to navigate at times in terms of, because most people don't want to offend, or they a bit too agreeable, but that's coming at the detriment of their business? Is there a way, was it hard for you initially to be able to balance business and them seeing you as a good person, or you know what I'm saying? I didn't ask that the best way, but hopefully you can pull it together.
I'm getting your gist.
Okay, good.
But basically, as long as you solve a problem that they've got, and you solve it with integrity and with them in mind, people don't mind being sold to, because you're providing a solution.
True.
And you have to provide a solution that they trust. And if they trust you, they'll trust the solution. And then it's not a hard sell, and they don't mind being sold to. So the point is, don't push. I do a bit of business mentoring, and I often get asked by business owners, look, I'm not a natural salesman. I don't know how to sell. And I say, well, don't sell. I mean, not everybody's a Tony Robbins. and you can come out and try and do those big sales pitches, and it's not you, and it'll come across as fake.
Yeah.
And the moment you come across as fake, nobody's going to buy from you. Nobody's going to trust you. So what I say to my business owners is, sell your passion for what you do. And if you sell your passion, the sales will come, because they can see the truth behind what you're doing.
True.
So, for example, with you, your passion is helping people be financially secure for their lives.
Yeah. It's cool.
You're not saying, hey, come to me, you're going to make a whole lot of interest, it's going to happen really quickly,
No.
and things are going to be great.
Yeah.
People won't believe that, won't buy it, but you say, hey, let's take a long-term view, let's take a long-term journey, and I'm passionate about helping you because, and they can see that's you. So it's not hard to sell if you believe in what you're selling, and you're comfortable in what you're selling, and you're sure in what you sell.
For sure.
And that'll come across, and basically people will buy on that trust.
Yeah, I agree. There's a talk I did. It was called "The Art of Not Selling," because the challenging thing, even though I'm passionate about the financial freedom and helping people in the long term, they're not that passionate about coming to listen to someone talk about it unless they have that problem at that exact moment. So I thought, how can I add value to business owners? So I had the background in selling. And the art of not selling is to throw away the script, in a sense. So sure, you want to keep practicing and understanding every aspect of your product, every aspect of your competitor's product, what your client's going to say, how you support that. But that's where a lot of people go wrong, is where they're scripting it. And the consumer is getting a lot more intelligent. Not to say that the consumer wasn't as intelligent before, but their bullshit radar is a bit more acute, because they're getting this constant feedback from social media. So this person promises this is what the comments are saying. So they're getting this loop of reinforcement of seeing when someone's genuine and disgenuine. So sure, you might have the best script in the world, but just like a good joke, if it's badly timed, it's a bad joke.
Yep.
So it's about tailoring it to them, having a genuine passion in what you do, and then helping facilitate that change with them and solving that problem. But there was two more of the Holy Trinity. So there was another one, management accounts. You did that at one of our events.
Yep.
And you didn't quite have the opportunity to share the full picture of what incorporates a management account, because we had some audience contributing. So what would be the key components, or what is a management account as well?
Management accounts are accounts done for the business owner. So as I said at that event, business owners say, look, I get my annual tax returns done. That's all I need. That's what my accountant does. They get sent off, then I put them in the bottom drawer of my desk and I worry about it next year. Management accounts, those tax returns are done for the Inland Revenue Department. They're not done for the business owner. The Inland Revenue Department specifies what must be in them, and accountants have to follow that and supply that information to the Inland Revenue. And all the Inland Revenue care about is how much money did you make, and did you pay enough tax on that money? That's all inland revenue is interested in, and that's all that's covered in your annual tax return. So management accounts are done not for the inland revenue, they're done for the business owner. I liken it a bit like a warrant of fitness. Warrant of fitness for your car is done for Transit New Zealand, and they care that you fit the rules and your car is safe.
Yeah.
They don't care whether your car needs a tune-up.
No.
They don't care if your car's about to blow up or they can see that your water pump's about to give out. They don't care. They want to make sure you're safe on the road. So management accounts are like going into the engine of the car and seeing how it's running. So what you would do with your management accounts, you'd do them quarterly, every couple of months, every 6 months, or even yearly, dependent on what your need is. And they are prepared solely for the business owner to gauge and see how their business is performing. So the main complaint about accounts and accounting is it's historic. Sure, I've got my tax return, it's already a year out of date. Those sales were last year's sales. So what management accounts do is because it's historic, they use the historic data to show trends. And trends is very important to a business because trends continue. Or you can see a trend away. So if your market's slowly changing, you're selling into a market that's aging, or you're selling into a market that technology is having a big impact on, or you're selling into a market that is slowly not purchasing anymore for any number of reasons, you can see a trend in your accounts to that. And you need to be able to react to that trend, but you need to know that there's a trend happening.
Yeah.
Most business owners will say, my sales are down, they've been going down for the last 6 months, last 8 months. Do you know why they're going down? And what products are not selling? What products or what services are not selling? Yes, your income as a business may be down, but it may be only down on product A.
Yeah.
Whereas product B is actually increasing in sales, but product A is what you've been relying on to run the business. So product A is not selling as much. Product B is now propping it up. So your management accounts can show this, and you think, okay, product B, now I need to change my focus from product A to product B, and start pushing product B more. All of a sudden, your business is starting to pick up again. Management accounts, the first time you do them, are of limited value. They are of value, but limited value. The second time you do them, and the third time and onwards, they become quite valuable. First time you do management accounts, we look at the results. Then we go into your accounts and we change things in your accounts. We change your cost centres, we change your monitoring in things like Xero and MYOB. We pop in some tracking codes onto certain items, so costs are allocated automatically when you click yes, that reconciles.
All right.
And then, so that by the time you have your second management accounts, you've tweaked your management accounts from the first time, you've got more information about what you want. And then every time you do management accounts, you tweak things a little bit to say, okay, I want to have more information about product B. That's picking up. Why is that picking up? Okay, so let's tweak your account so it shows what's coming through Google, what's coming through Facebook, what's coming through print, what's coming through radio advertising. Okay, B's picking up because Facebook users are buying a lot of product B. Okay, so why are they buying product B? My avatar's changing. Why is my avatar changing? I need to change my business focus for that avatar.
It's good. Yeah, I can see the immense value of that because a lot of people, just in general, they have certain biases. They're not aware. I mean, the brain wants you to do what's efficient, not what's right necessarily. So it tries to save energy and find the most effective pathway to get somewhere. But it's not necessarily based on this situation. It's historic, like the accounting that you mentioned, because it's learnt this is an effective way to survive. The landscape's changed, so it's still holding the beliefs that got them to where they are, but they get a bit too rigid in that belief and then don't see the wood for the trees. So I guess the numbers don't lie. Is there certain... Obviously, it evolves and you adjust it. Is there certain key things that should be in nearly every management account, or is it completely different for every business? Or
It's different from every business. As we said at the beginning, the basics of business are the same. You have to sell for more than you buy.
yeah,
So management accounts need to keep an eye on that. For example, costs go up. Are you putting your costs up to match your costs? Or supplier B, suddenly his costs have gone up, which is making product A, which used most of his supplies, your return on investment is starting to fall there. So should we revalue product A, or should we change the supplier on product A? Or is there an alternative source for whatever's being used in product A? These are highlighted in management accounts, and these are what owners need to react to, rather than just going, oh God, the costs have gone up, I need to put our costs up. Well, the costs have gone up because this supplier is increasing more. Do we need to look at changing that supplier?
true. Yeah, I could definitely see the benefit of that, having something that doesn't lie. It's just the numbers are what the numbers are. Do you see, in terms of, from seeing business owners quite a lot, some do well, some don't, do you see consistent trends on the ones that do well and the ones that don't? Certain principles in business that should be incorporated or you should be mindful of?
Absolutely. The businesses that do well are agile businesses.
Okay.
They're businesses who don't sit back. They're constantly running management reports because they're wanting to check that what they think is correct. What you think is not always correct.
Yeah.
Emotionally, as you said, business owners get attached to a certain part of their business.
Sure.
Emotionally, they're thinking, this is where I want my business to go, this is what I want my business to do, and they tend to be the business owners that don't do quite so well because they're not reacting to their market. Their market, the problem that they're solving was yesterday's problem.
Yeah.
And they want to stay with yesterday's problem. The market's changed. That problem is no longer such a big problem for that market. So their business is starting to suffer now because they're not reacting. The businesses that do well, the agile business owners, are looking and saying, okay, the problem I'm solving is not quite so relevant now. So how do I adapt my business? So what is the problem that my market is now facing? And how do I adapt my business to solve that problem? And how do I tell that market, I now solve that problem? And so agile businesses are looking at their market, they're keeping an eye on their market, they're keeping an eye on the problems that their market has, and they're adapting their business to suit those problems.
Okay.
Take a look at Kodak.
Yeah.
Kodak solved the problem of people wanting to capture memories. Photographs, fantastic, worked really well, multinational company. Digital cameras came in. The problem that people had was not the same problem that they had 20 years ago. Kodak didn't react to that. They thought everybody will always be wanting cameras, everybody will be always wanting to print photographs. That's not the case.
Yeah.
Digital cameras have come in on phones. People now have frames on the wall that have got a USB attached to them, and the photos are a bit of review.
Once a month, okay. So, two-part question on that. So, one, now you're in the control tower and you're thinking, and you're trying to do your market research. Is there a process of which to find that out? Do you go mystery shop at your competitors? Do you just look online for related industries? Do you look for data and statistics? We'll just start with that first question, actually. It's a big one.
It is a big one. Coming back to the problem-solving question, what they need to do is step back and say, is the solution I'm providing still relevant? And as you say, how do they find that out? They research. Look at your biggest competitor who's doing really well.
Okay.
What are they doing and who are they selling to? Is that the same market? Or are they doing better than you because they've moved their solution to a different part of the market? So look at your competitors. Look at the demographics that you're working in. Look at your markets. For example, if you're selling into, let's say, the retired population, and you're selling into Hamilton, your main market's Hamilton. What's the demographic? Are people when they retire from Hamilton, do they move to Tauranga?
Yeah, okay.
So, hold on, my main market is Hamilton, that's great. That's my bread and butter. The future for my business is now in Tauranga. So should I now start doing some focus towards Tauranga? Don't shift your whole business from Hamilton to Tauranga, the focus, but start planning for Tauranga. How am I going to start making sales in Tauranga? Let's start building my brand in Tauranga. I'm not selling there yet, but let's put some banner ads up in Tauranga. Let's start telling them that I exist. And then when I'm starting to got a bit of spare cash, which we'll talk to shortly about cash flow forecasts, when I've got a bit of spare cash, I'll throw that at the Tauranga market. Now I'll try and build that up so it's running parallel to Hamilton. Don't change your focus immediately, because that'll hurt your business. Slowly move.
Sure.
And so is your niche, your avatar market changing? Is that now going overseas? New Zealand's moved on from this, so my product or service is no longer relevant so much in New Zealand. However, they're still quite under-resourced in this area in the Philippines or India. Okay, so should I look at moving that? Let's have a chat to a couple of government departments about exporting and how I can do that. But in the meantime, I'll keep running my business as I am with an eye on moving it.
Okay, so that makes sense. I sort of break it down in brand and transaction. So brand, I sort of think 10 years. So how can I create a brand that's pivotable to adapt with change? So that's why I went the personal brand aspect, because I'm the product. The service I provide could change as the landscape changes, but if I build trust and rapport and become known for that, that gives me movability. And the transaction is obviously paying the rent, making sure you're bringing business in.
On that, let's look at KFC. Their market changed.
Yeah.
The people they sell to didn't change, but their market changed. Why did their market change? They used to be called Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, these mad gym instructors started running around saying, fried food is bad for you.
Yeah.
So KFC went, okay, my market's changing. They're reacting to the word fried.
Yeah.
So we'll rebrand to KFC. We won't change anything in our process.
Yeah.
So the food's going to be the same. But we'll rebrand our name because people are reacting to fried. So they spend a lot of money changing to KFC.
All right. Okay.
They were Kentucky Fried Chicken. They're now KFC. Product hasn't changed. The marketplace, their avatar was reacting to a change in attitude, which was fried. So we'll just change the name.
Good call. So it seems that if you have a consistent process of understanding your avatar, doing market research, what's your competitor doing well that you're not, or is the landscape or solution changing? Even brand, you can you can still create the same service, but just make sure it's seen in people's eyes in a unique way that they want to receive. So it's quite interesting. What are the principles? You talked about agility as important in an organization. Is there other aspects of either a business owner type that does well, or a framework of how a business is structured that does well?
A business owner needs to look at themselves and think, what do I like doing? And what am I good at doing? And what do I hate doing? And what am I not so good at doing? And the things that they like doing and that they're good at doing, they need to do. The things that they hate doing and they're not so good at doing, they need to outsource. From an accounting firm point of view, we say, look, business owners spend a lot of time doing their GST, doing their payroll, doing their reconciliations. If they're good at that and they enjoy that and it makes them feel like they've got hands-on in their business, that's fantastic. They should keep doing it. So many people hate it. So outsource it. Your accountant has bookkeepers working there. Outsource all of that to the bookkeepers. You know, let's say I talk to somebody and they say, look, I spend about 3 hours a week on my accounts. Okay, so that's 3 hours a week that you're not happy and you don't enjoy, and you're not very good at it. So why wouldn't you outsource that to a bookkeeper at your accountant's? There's 3 hours a week. What you can do with that 3 hours is up to you. But you should be spending that 3 hours on what you like and what you're good at and what only you can do. For example, sales and customer relations. Your accountant can't go out and do your sales and your customer relations for you, but they can do your bookkeeping to give you that time to go and do those sales. And, for example, it should be, at worst, cost neutral or cost positive. So let's say it costs you 3 hours. Let's say it costs you $150, $200 to outsource that money, that work, that bookkeeping. Now, those 3 hours, if you bring on 2 new clients, has that covered that cost? If your biggest client is feeling a little bit neglected, if in those 3 hours you pop out and you knock on their door and say, hey, I'd just like to have a chat and see how things are going and whether we're looking after you properly, and he's going, well, actually, you've saved that client.
Yeah.
And does that client bring in more than $150, $200 a week to your business? Possibly. Therefore, that outsourced cost is cost positive.
Fair.
It's not costing you a cent. It's actually making you money. So, but I'm not trying to sell accounting services. It means the same for marketing.
Yeah.
Some people are really good sitting in front of their clients and selling, but they're not great at marketing.
For sure.
So outsource your marketing. Find somebody who's good at it and you trust, and get them to do it. Office work and anything like that they could outsource. They should look at outsourcing.
All right, you and Murray agree on that.
So,
yeah, Murray said the same thing in the last episode. Seems to be consistent as well. Gary V, his whole mindset is hire people that are good at what you don't like. Within reason. I was going to ask you that because you get a bit of pushback from the odd business owner that isn't making a good living, and they're worried like if they outsource, then obviously that's not good for their business because it's another overhead for them. But as you say, it was cost neutral. Cash, was it cost neutral? And
cost neutral or positive.
Positive, okay.
You know, you don't want it to be negative. You don't want it to be costing you money. And the trick is try it.
Yeah.
Set some goals and some KPIs so that you can measure it. Okay? You can even put this into your management accounts that we were talking about before. Okay? This management account, here are my results. For the next quarter, I'm going to outsource this and this, and it's going to cost me this amount of money to outsource it. Your next set of management accounts, how are your sales and how's your revenue? Has it gone up? is it covering the cost of that outsourcing? Answer yes, keep outsourcing.
Yeah, okay, it's simple. Is there outsourcing that you do in the business that you're in currently, or?
We outsource some of the marketing,
Okay.
Facebook, things like that. You need people who know algorithms and how they work and what Facebook's liking at the moment. Facebook's liking video.
Yeah.
They didn't like it before. They didn't like it before because the technology wasn't there, and video was big and clunky, and it slowed down and used a lot of data. Now the compression rates are so great, it's pushing through, not using quite so much data, and so Facebook's going, this is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, and I was listening to an investment podcast now talking about having different mind maps, and that's one of the things that Warren Buffett executes on, is that it might not always be nice to have a conversation with someone with an opposing view and reaches a different conclusion than you, but sometimes it's a make or break moment for many people, because it's very easy to get surrounded by yes men telling you, oh, you're doing so great, and it's a lot more comfortable as an organization.
Yep.
But do you try actively in the culture of the business have different personality types that have contradicting views, or do you try and how do you balance the culture if that's the case as well, where you obviously your first reaction is, oh, they just told me I'm wrong, and then navigating through that?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I'm not a yes man. I say no when people want me to. There are certain ways. Absolutely, there are lots of different views, and I say to business owners, if they're going through a period of crisis, let's say, whilst they're going through crisis, they need to work in a mindset of task. So we're in a crisis. My task is for the business to survive to next week. So they need to just focus on what they need to do to make the business survive. Now, once they move out of that task focus, then they need to seek opinion about how their business is going and why it nearly went under. And, for example, go back to Kodak. They needed to be, okay, we need to survive. We need to work on why we survived. Now we need to get opinions on why did that nearly happen. And somebody saying, printing photographs is dead, everybody's going digital. Now, the GM of Kodak will go, what a load of crap. That's not the case. I don't want to hear that. I've been doing this for the last 20 years, and for God's sake, it's going to keep going. Yeah. Whereas if they hear it, they've got to take it on board, and they've got to analyse it, and they've got to say, firstly, don't listen to people. My biggest advice would be, don't listen to people who you wouldn't go to normally for advice.
Okay.
If I would normally go to you for advice on financial planning and you told me something, I'd listen to you. Yeah. If I'm having a barbecue and Fred from down the road comes up and says, hey, mate, you need to put your money here. Yeah. Cryptocurrency is the future. This is the way to go. Put all your money here. Would I normally go to him for advice on financial planning? No. Good. Therefore, would I listen to him? No. So don't listen to people you wouldn't normally go to for advice.
Interesting. Okay.
They might be right, but mostly they'll be wrong, because you know who you'd go to advice. I'd go to you for financial planning advice. I wouldn't go to Fred down the road for financial planning advice. So why am I listening to him at the barbecue giving me financial planning advice? Yeah, finally more people have that mindset.
It's fascinating why in certain points in your life you're open to such advice. And I usually, if I'm trying to filter on if I'm justified in listening to them, because sometimes people you wouldn't normally go to for advice might have a certain competency without actually the wisdom, but it was a valuable advice. So I usually look at evidence and motive. So evidence is obviously what supports their argument. Why are they justified in being able to have that argument? Ideally, it's someone as an accountant with experience. That's the evidence. The motive is why are they giving me this advice? What's in it for them? Are they incentivized for me having a good life? Are they incentivized for me not having a good life so they feel better about themselves so they don't have to try themselves? So I sort of go through that, similar to the police and evidence of motive, because there's a lot of lip service and there's a lot of people telling you what you should do, but unless they're doing it or have they're justified in that viewpoint, then yeah, I'm a bit like, not sure if I'll listen. Because there's going to be negativity. If you get to a certain level of profile in life and you're doing well, there are people just want to bring you down for the sake of they're hurting inside and they want to, I say an insult is an insecurity wrapped in blame. So is there certain challenges you had to deal with? Like say your friend group, they're probably used to being employed, maybe your parents when you first started, or you shouldn't be going into entertainment. We've heard all these bad stories. Was there a moment where you took a leap of faith and people tried to bring you down? And if there was, how did you go about getting through that from a mindset perspective?
Interesting. Talking about the entertainment side, my father worked for an insurance company all his life.
Oh.
He was from that you get a job and it's a job for life and they'll look after you and you'll look after them and then you'll retire and you'll live off your retirement earnings and your savings. And I said, okay, I'm going to go into the entertainment business. And from him, that was the worst thing you could say. So, yep, he tried to talk me out of it, said, no, that's not for you. And then I was doing an event and I spoke to the conductor of the orchestra. And I said, look, tell me about life in the entertainment industry. And he said, it's going to be hard. There's going to be times when you're going to have no contracts and you're going to have no money. But you're going to love every minute of it. And I thought, okay, I can go into this with my eyes open. And he was very blunt, very clear about the life of an entertainer. And it was hard and it was tough, and there were times when I had absolutely no money, and you're sitting near the end of the year and you're looking and thinking, what are my contracts for next year? I have none. But then you think, would I change it? No. So after doing that for many years, and I'd had my fun, I'd enjoyed myself, and it had run its course, and I thought, okay, now's the time to change and find a new path.
It's good self-awareness. And just to make this a little bit easier on Jordan, our audio editor, we're still running a business in the background, so there's a couple people doing backflips and talking to each other. It sounds like that, but really it's just a prospect meeting, funnily enough. Shouldn't say that too loud. They like to be called an individual, not a prospect, but that's what's happening. So yeah, it seems that's a common trait. I mean, I call it homeostasis in the book, where in a living system or in chemistry specifically, if you change something, it tries to seek equilibrium. So if suddenly you increase the pressure on the chemicals, then they actually take up a smaller shape to adjust to that change, and they maintain the status quo. But it's also quite interesting because that flows into the social aspect in humans, is if a certain thing within the equilibrium changes, the reaction is equal to the level of change. So let's say you're a party animal, you went out every week with your friends, and then suddenly you stopped. Drastically, cold turkey, no more going out. Either they have to drastically change with you, or they have to try and convert you back to the equilibrium. So even just by you existing and doing your life, shines a spotlight on who they are. So it's gonna be a natural thing. It's not personal. It's not like they're trying to bring you down because they don't want you to do well. It's just the fact that we got to maintain the status quo.
Yep.
Like even right now, I'm posting on TikTok. Every business owner looks like I'm crazy because I mean it's young people supposedly just dancing, but there's 1 billion people that are users. It has a diverse demographic, and it's feeding all my other social channels. So sometimes you have to go out of the norm a little bit. And yeah, I mean that you can't be successful just being average, I suppose.
No, there's two sayings that I like that relate to that, and there's one: if you hate being at the circus, stop hanging out with clowns. And that's what a lot of business owners don't look at. You know, they're associating with this group of people who aren't doing well, and that's that mindset. Which brings me to the other saying is, as you assemble, so you resemble. So whoever you hang out with frames your mindset.
True.
So if you're hanging out with people who are moaning about business, who are moaning how hard it is and how much they hate business, but they're in business, that's going to affect your mindset. Whereas you say, okay, I'm going to step away from that, and I'm going to hang out with business owners who are successful, who are excited about business, who see the potential of business, then that's going to frame your mindset as well.
Sure.
So, as they say, you know, whatever you think is what you'll be.
True. It's quite a tricky thing as well, because they say you grew up in a lower socioeconomic area, you have good friends. Those friends sort of have low ambition just because it's hard for them to perceive outside of what their reality is. Is there certain points where you kind of had to cut people from your life and realizing, hey, they're not actually serving my best interest, and how you actually navigate that conversation? Because, I mean, you were friends, but you just realize that they're bringing you down. Do you just slowly phase them out, or you just keep them in your life but just see them as little as possible? Or?
I don't think it's quite as draconian as that.
Okay.
As you start working on your mindset and you're wanting to associate with a different type of mindset, I think they will slowly move away naturally. Because you're not fitting who they are, and they're starting to not fit who you are or who you want to be. So I think they'll move by themselves. It'll be an organic move rather than okay, we can't be friends anymore. I'm blocking you on Facebook. I'm blocking you on Instagram. You know, rather than you'll be doing lots of positive posts on Instagram, and they'll just stop following you.
Yeah, it's true.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. You can imagine like seeing a negative post every day as though it's their diary, and then eventually you're like, I don't really want to follow that.
Yeah.
So all right, okay, just naturally phase out. Okay, well let's say a business owner's been listening to this whole podcast and they thought, okay, a lot of these are good ideas, but I don't know where to start or what to do. What does it look like when they come in to see you? Like, what are the key things you look for? How do you support them? What's your point of difference?
I think our point of difference is that we've taken a business decision not to be just compliance accountants. So we're not just going to do your GST. We're not just going to do your end of year tax or your fringe benefit or your payroll. Yes, we'll do that. That's part of who we are and what we do. But we want a more hands-on and supportive approach to those business owners.
Okay.
So, as I said before, I do a bit of business mentoring. If they need a bit of a hand with that, happy to chat, work them through that. So it depends on what the business owner's coming to us for. First question that I have two questions that I like to ask is, firstly, why did you agree to meet with us today? Because that'll tell you what they want.
Yeah.
And what brought them in the door. And secondly, my next question is, why are you leaving your last accountant? So those two questions, one will tell me what brought them in the door, what they liked about our firm that brought them in the door, and secondly, what they didn't like about their last accountant and what made them walk out the door.
Yeah.
So in those two questions, we should frame what relationship they want and what they want from that relationship between their clients and the accountant.
Smart.
And then we know what they want. And we can work with them to try and provide that. If somebody comes for us and all they want is compliance accounting, they're not going to want me ringing them up and saying, how's it going, anything I can give you a hand with, any questions you've got. They're not going to want that. They're busy, they're at the coalface.
Yeah.
They're doing the job get off the phone.
Okay.
Go away and just do my tax when it comes. Whereas a business owner who's come to us because they want a bit more support from their accountant, I'm not saying some accountants talk about hand-holding. I'm not talking about hand-holding because that's not what we do. Hand-holding means we're actually helping them run their business,
Yeah.
which we don't do.
Yeah.
But we'll guide, we'll support, and we'll offer advice. So that client would want me to ring up every so often and say, everything going well? Do you have any questions? Anything I can give you a hand with? Would you like a coffee and a chat, and let's see how things are progressing for you? They want that.
Yeah. Need it as well.
So
I don't know.
you need to qualify at that first meeting what they want from their accountant.
What are the most common answers to those questions you get?
Most common answers, why did they leave their last accountant, tends to be they charge me for every second that I'm on the phone.
Okay.
They don't reply to my emails, or they've taken ages to get my accounts done. It's not always the accountant's fault.
Yeah,
there are other things that go into that, but that doesn't matter because the client's right. If the client feels that they've been neglected, then the client is right, they've been neglected in their mind.
Yeah, okay.
It's up to the accountant to address that and point out this is what's happened and this is why it's happened, and you've got to have that conversation with the accountant.
For sure.
Most common when they come to see us, why did they come to see us, is generally because we're seen as a more proactive, higher profile firm, and they like that.
Yeah.
They like the fact that we're obviously not stuck in the mud old school accountants.
Yeah, no.
I saw a very funny thing a while ago. One accounting firm did a big Facebook post of about 5 paragraphs explaining why they're not boring accountants.
All right,
And in each of those 5 paragraphs, it was incredibly boring. Whereas one funny picture might have proved that they're not boring accountants.
True. That'd be a tricky thing to navigate, eh? I mean, they're very numbers-orientated, logical, but talking about your point of seeing where the market's going, where the problem is, it seems, I don't know, I'm not in accounting, but from what I'm looking from an outside perspective is the numbers are getting automated. To a certain degree, you still need to tailor it. Like you're saying with management accounts, each business is unique. But they're actually more in need of a business advisor as opposed to someone that just processes their tax. So is that why you went that side, or is it the fact that it allows you to be a business mentor, which is your competency because you're not an accountant, but you understand business? What made you go more in that direction of support and tailored service for their business?
We had a lot of clients coming in who we were doing the compliance work for, and in that compliance work we were seeing things in the numbers, and we pointed those things out, and they said, well, why haven't I heard this before? And we thought, okay, this is what we need to do more work on for our clients. We need to help them out a bit more. This is what they're looking for. As you say, zero MYOB, they're becoming more automated.
Yeah.
They're using artificial intelligence a lot more, and they will be in the future. But it's still a case of GIGO, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So artificial intelligence, you keep doing things wrong, artificial intelligence will learn to do it wrong.
Yeah.
So you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to train. You've got to learn. So we started going down the route of more client assistance rather than just client problem solving. And have a look at those books. Have a bit of research on the owner, on the writer of that book. Okay, this guy is a a PhD in tax.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yep, he's going to know what he's talking about. So I'll have a read of that.
Okay.
Um,
Anyone in particular that has a book?
Oh, there's hundreds of them out there.
Okay.
But hunt around, dependent on what you want to know about, and make sure it's specific. So you're wanting information on New Zealand tax law.
Yeah.
You don't want to get a book written by an American. I mean, it's like buying Windows for Dummies, which is great, but you own a Mac. That book's going to be great for everybody who. Oh, apologies to the sound department for bashing the microphone. That book is going to be great for everybody with a PC.
Yeah.
But it's going to be of limited value for a Mac user, possibly. So make sure the person that you're getting the information from and the writer of the book is relevant, and then have a look at it. Have a read.
Okay.
I was looking at buying a coffee machine a few years ago, and I like to do things from a point of knowledge. So I thought, I don't want to walk into a shop and say, which coffee machine should I buy? Because I'll say, this one is the most expensive one, and therefore you should have it because I'll make the most commission off it.
Of course.
So I had a look, down the road at the local school. On a Saturday morning, somebody does a barista course. So I went down and did a barista course.
Did you? You should have made your own coffee.
And so, absolutely. And so when I walk into the coffee shop and they say, oh, this machine does this machine does this, and you go, okay, but does it do this and does it do that?
Yeah.
No. Okay, then which machine does?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, the cheaper one does that the best, but I didn't want to sell you that one. So you go from a position of knowledge.
For sure.
So you want to do your own tax or do a bit of your own tax, then go to it from a position of knowledge so you know what you're talking about. You're making decisions.
For sure. I've actually found that with a lot of people that I've come across that have experienced bankruptcy in their business and things weren't too good, where they actually outsourced in a competency they knew nothing about, or they partnered with someone that had a really good skill set in accounting. They just trust them wholeheartedly. So as you say, knowledge is power. It's a way to recognize, even though it's not your core competency, I think having an understanding of every aspect of how your business runs. So we're just wrapping this up. Would there be any closing remarks, maybe how people should find you, or one key point that you want people to take away from this? Or the link will be in the bio.
Oh, okay, thank you.
No worries.
Firstly, if we're talking about business in general, just be agile.
Okay.
That would be my biggest recommendation to business owners. Don't get stuck in a rut. Don't keep going down the same line. Just because the way it's always been done doesn't mean it's the best way to do it.
Fair.
The market's changing. Your ideal client is changing. Let's say, for example, let's take COVID-19. Who'd been using Zoom before COVID-19 hit?
Yeah, hardly anyone.
Hardly anybody was using it. A client called you and said, hey, can we have a meeting? And if you said, hey, save your travelling time, should we do it on Zoom? They'll think you're a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah.
Now, you say, hey, do you want to do it on Zoom? Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's great.
So
It's awesome.
that market's changed. Over the course of a couple of months, that avatar has changed mindset. So that's what I would say to business owners: be agile and be aware of your market.
For sure. I think that's the silver lining with such a tragedy is that there was a mass market buy-in to servicing people in that way. So now, instead of being locally restricted or is also dependent on a lease, a lot of people feel comfortable working from home. A lot of people see the benefit in video calling. So now we can service clients nationally, and we had a few Zoom new clients. So yeah, you got to adapt with the times and agility. And if anyone's looking for agility in terms of their body, we've got Jordan. Jordan Greville's not only doing podcasts, but now he's a personal trainer. So if you start seeing me shrink away, I've had a few comments on TikTok about the waistline. So yeah, he'll be the reason why.
I feel your pain.
Oh, there you go. We'll get him on board. What do you think, everyone? But on that note, thanks for coming. And as usual, added a lot of value, and hopefully the listeners feel the same.
Thank you.
No worries.